Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And in this video I'll be talking you through the first test between England and India. And so England won this test comprehensively in the end, and they won by quite a lot. I think 227 runs. And so they thoroughly deserved the win. And from the start, England won the toss and chose to bat on a pitch that, especially on the first 2 days, I'd say at least the first 5 sessions of the game was a road of a pitch kind of, and they made full use of it because they scored 578, and the contributors in that were, the notable ones were Joe Root 218, Dom Sibley 87, and Ben Stokes 82. And the others, chipped around, scored 30s and just to increase the score a bit. And so the first wicket for England fell on, I believe, 63 when Rory Burns, kind of gifted a wicket to Ashwin, trying to play a reverse sweep, and it got caught off short leg, got caught by short leg, and that was a bit of a gift of a wicket, really. And then Dan Lawrence was actually the one who batted at number 3, and so I could see this coming. I made my first video on this tour a day before the match started, and I could see that this was probably going to be someone who they were going to use to fill in that position, because no one else would really want to sacrifice their position in a way. And so this, especially Dan Lawrence just coming into the team, you'd think that if there's someone who would probably be open to bat anywhere at this point, it'd be him. And so I wasn't really surprised that he got promoted to that position, but unfortunately for him, he only survived for 5 balls in his first innings, and in his second innings he scored 18 of 47. And so, as I talked about in the Chandimal example in the previous video where I talked about this, is that he went, so in his case he went from number 5 to number 3, and he had a terrible run which actually led him to get dropped from the Sri Lanka team before the series to South Africa where they won. And so I'm not really surprised, and I don't think that there will be any criticism of Dan Lawrence for not doing that great, because one, it's your first time at number 3, and even then, if you're not used to batting there, then especially at the international level, I can completely understand why it would be, it would be a very hard task for anyone, even established international players, if you take them from their, preferred position and put them at number 3, which is probably the hardest place to bat in Test cricket. Of course, they'd find it hard, and so I'm not really surprised they didn't really get many runs. But like I said, it's something that he'd probably be given another chance at number 3 as well, and so just a kind of a learning curve for him and a good opportunity. I know it'd be a very hard one, but I'm saying that for someone who, in his position, just coming in, you just want to be in the team. And so number 3, I feel like if he's given a long rope, and even if he does, not do that well, I don't think that his place in the team should be compromised by not doing well at number 3. So I probably shouldn't have spent, or didn't need to spend a long time talking about that, but I'm just saying that it is a hard transition. So even if he does fail a few more times, no one's really going to be too bothered about it. And so he scored 0-5, and then the partnership that really set England up really was a 200 plus partnership between Joe Root and Dom Sibley. And the thing is that I think it may have lasted exactly 200 runs, and the thing is that that partnership lasted until the last ball of the first day's play, when Dom Sibley got LBW off Jasprit Bumrah. And it was such a good partnership because Dom Sibley was playing his natural game in, he was, being fairly cautious. And even then, there were a few boundaries that he hit where, he really tried to hit the boundaries, in the sense that he tried to be authoritative while playing those shots. And, it worked out really well for him, and he got 87, and he really deserved 100 because he played brilliantly. And then there was Joe Root too, who especially towards the end of the day's play was really trying to, get the scoring rate along. And I really thought that it was a very well-crafted partnership and 2 very well-crafted innings by both of them, because especially about the partnership. So when Joe Root came in, until the 41st, at the end of the 41st over, there was a drinks break, and he actually only tried one sweep, and that was against Washington Sundar in that last over before the drinks break, which didn't quite come off. And so my take on this was that both of them were just trying to feel the attack out a bit, and especially you look at the three kind of the more pedigree names in the bowling attack: in Ishant Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah, or Ashwin. And Ishant Sharma, even though you'd say he'd be rusty because he just didn't play the entirety of the Australia tour and then he came back here. He got 2 for 52 in 27 overs and bowled brilliantly. And as you can see, it's an economy rate of under 2, and you're meant to be rusty. And especially he bowled at a stage when the pitch was meant to be a road. And so thinking about that was actually an excellent bowling performance from him. Bumrah also bowled 3 for 84 and 36, and Ashwin bowled a lot of overs, 55.1 actually, and bowled very well, 3 for 146. I mean, there were a few tired deliveries here and there, especially towards the end, but I thought that he did his best to keep things in check. And you look at those three and you see, all right, those are pretty good economy rates and pretty good figures. I mean, 2 wickets for Ishant Sharma and 3 wickets each for Jasprit Bumrah and Ravichandran Ashwin. And you think, all right, the wickets at this at the stage that I was talking about, the wickets was kind of irrelevant. Yes, they lost 2 wickets, but it was just about the way that those two batsmen went about the situation. So if you look at those 3 pedigree names, the reason why I mentioned those names is because you look at the other 2 bowlers. So Akshar Patel actually got injured, and so Shahbaz Nadeem was brought in, and so Shahbaz Nadeem and Washington Sundar, as you can tell, the threat, despite the fact those two are good bowlers. I mean, Washington Sundar, I didn't actually necessarily think he'd be much of a test bowler, to be honest with you, but he does bowl good lines and everything. But Shahbaz Nadeem can turn the ball, and he's a good test bowler. And so, despite the fact that those two are good, I'm saying even the England batsmen and all of us could see that the threat level decreased after you got past those 3, and then you got to these 2. So I think the England batsmen tried to weather out the 3 bowlers who I mentioned earlier, and then they tried to score off Nadeem and Washington Sundar. I mean, especially on the first day you saw that, and it worked very well because as they were scoring off the other 2 bowlers, they gained in confidence, and they also thought, we're actually playing the main 3 bowlers better, and they did do that. And that's the reason why I felt that we all saw, it became extremely hard to dismiss them, and that's why they racked up 578 England in the end, because as they were scoring runs off the 2 kind of support bowlers, they got more confident and therefore better at playing the main 3, and it was something that didn't work well for India at all. And I'm saying you could say the pressure from the support bowlers, especially on the first day, wasn't too great because it allowed England to get to the platform to build to get this big score. But I'm saying that after a while, I felt that as I said, look, the batsmen got better at playing them, and they looked to score more off these 2 bowlers. And so really, it was the fact that just not applying the desired pressure let the batsman get more confident, and because of that, it was almost sealing the gate almost of getting a wicket. I mean, you look at Shahbaz Nadeem, he's got 2 for 167 and 44 overs, and Washington Sundar none for 98 and 26. So clearly, it's that it almost shut the window for them to really apply any pressure, as they just didn't do it from the start. And I thought that was a big factor, a very big factor in, for England to get the runs that they got. And so, yeah, I thought that it was Dom Sibley, playing his natural game defensively, and Joe Root, once he kind of felt the attack a little bit, he started playing those sweep shots, and it was a brilliant innings, 218 off 377, and even so, he was struggling from cramp, and he hit the 6 off Ashwin over square leg. And that was a time where England were going very well, and honestly 578, especially seeing that in the last session, I thought India were able to keep the runs down a bit because the pitch just showed the first signs of deteriorating, and that's why I felt like England would have been looking to go even higher than that, but the pitch deteriorated at that moment, so even then they were capped to 578, and they got all out in I think 190 overs, so it took 10 overs of the 3rd day until India actually finished bowling their first innings. And so it was very good performance from England. And as Ben Stokes came in, played brilliantly, 82 off 118. after Dom Sibley getting out, this is when they thought, look, we're confident, we've got 263 for 3, now it's time to just expand our total really. And Ben Stokes came in and scored 82 of 118, brilliant innings. And Ollie Pope scored 34 of 89, Josh Buttler 30 of 51, and Dom Best 34 of 105. And so in Dom Best's stage, he did bat very well, but it was a kind of stage where they were just trying to increase his runs a little bit, because that was a stage where, the pitch was deteriorating, but he still batted that well. And Josh Buttler, he should have been out for 18 off a caught behind of Washington Sundar, but unfortunately, they had no reviews left. But luckily, Ishant Sharma got him out with, it was a bit of a misjudgment from Josh Buttler, but Ishant Sharma, he deserved that wicket. And the very next ball, he got Archer out with an excellent delivery. And so that was England's score, 5-7-8. And so the bowlers, as I said, Shahbaz Nadeem, and especially him, I thought that he bowled much better in the second day than he did in the first. Especially in the last session, I thought he bowled in around that 75 kph range when the pitch showed signs of deteriorating, and he actually got Joe Root out. And you could say Joe Root may have been, he was looking to play to mid wicket, through the innings, and then that one it didn't really work out, and he got LBW, but you could excuse him. He scored 218 runs, so who really cares? And that's the thing about that. And so on Ashwin, I was actually going to say something on Ashwin, because you saw Simon Hughes mentioned it that he's seen him do it for especially the last 2 years. And so you saw the way Ollie Pope got out, and you saw what Ashwin did. So this you saw the SG ball, and it's got a lot of criticism even from before. It gets scuffed up way too quickly, and that's the reason why Ashwin, he's realized he's had to develop a variation, and I say variation because in the end it just goes straight on, but it's a bluff. He kind of develops a double bluff for the batsman to play for turn when his intention is to make it go straight on. And you saw this with Ollie Pope, that he kind of spun the seam sideways, and so I'm not sure if it's the right word, but undercut it a little bit, and so it was spinning sideways, and the batsman, Ollie Pope, was playing for turn when Ashwin's intention is to make it go straight on, and because of that he got his wicket. And this was once again him being effective on a road of a pitch where it was in the first innings, and developing this variation, realizing that the SG ball gets scuffed up very quickly, and so you have to reinvent yourselves in a way, even to play with the batsman's mind to make them play for turn. And so we haven't seen him make people play for turn. As I saw there was one time in the IPO 2020 actually when Nicholas Pooran, I think he hit a boundary off Ashwin, and then the very not sure where it was, but then in the very next ball, you saw he bowled it at the stumps, and Nicholas Pooran just went straight through the gate because he's playing for turn. And so Ashwin does do that, and that's why I honestly think he's the best sporting mind that there is out there. And yeah, that was just a word on him. And so then it was India's innings, and so this was we saw the early signs. We saw in the sixth session of the match that there were signs that the pitch would deteriorate. And so when India came out to bat, straight away you could tell that I talked about the fact that the last time they played the test in Chennai, England scored 479, India scored 715, because the conditions are more consistent. And so straight away you could see that this would be a harder thing, and this may not actually happen as it worked out then. And so it didn't happen like that. And so Rohit Sharma got out to a very good ball by Jofra Archer, and Shubman Gill was playing his shots, but he kind of chipped a half volley to Jimmy Anderson for 29 of 28. It was a very good catch by Anderson actually. And Virat Kohli got out by an excellent ball and a plan really, because you saw Dom Bess and Rory Burns talking about Virat Kohli having to play at the ball outside off with a short leg in place, and it worked exactly like that because he scored 11 of 48 and Dom Bess got the wicket, and it was a very good plan. And yeah, we deserved the wicket honestly. And so then Rahane also got out because there could be an argument to say that he made the ball a full toss by coming down the track. But if you saw the ball, there was the opportunity to do that. And so many other batsmen would have done that. And so many other batsmen would have probably ended up converting it into a full toss. But unfortunately for him, he hit straight to Joe. I say straight to Joe. It still took a one-handed stunner to, catch the ball. But I'm saying that he did hit it close to the fielder, and so he would be a bit disappointed by that. However, it was a bit of a lucky wicket for England. But when you get Rahane and also Joe Root just improving how his test match was going, scoring a double hundred and then taking that catch, so England were clearly on top with India being 73 for 4. Then Rishabh Pant came in and played this entertaining innings where Jack Leach got obliterated. And even Pujara actually, I mean, he was 73 of 143, you'd still say it's a test innings, but he really thought, I have to play my defensive game, but also have to be positive. And so I could kind of get things rolling because, trailing by this point 505 from 73 for 4, you'd want to get some, runs at a quicker pace to just make sure it just mentally is satisfying that you're, getting closer to that first innings total. And so Pujara, I thought, went about his innings very well, and Rishabh Pant played his natural game and destroyed Jack Leach. And he actually saw Dom Bess had a morale boost because he'd got Virat Kohli's wicket, and so he actually played and Rahane's wicket. So he got, he played very defensively off him and, attacked the bowlers like, Jack Leach. And Jack Leach is a very good bowler actually, but I'm saying that he really bore the brunt of Rishabh Pant being positive. And India, that partnership had really brought some kind of... In India, I would have been really happy with that partnership, but unfortunately, the wicket fell at the wrong time. A very unlucky wicket, and it was a drag down by Dom Bess, and Pujara pulled it, and it bounced off short leg, and was caught by mid wicket. So incredibly unlucky dismissal, and I think it was 192 for 5, and so India it wasn't the greatest time to lose the wicket, especially when England scored 578 in the first innings, and so from then on, it was always going to be a challenge. Rishabh Pant tried to hit Dom Bess. I think he may have tried to hit it over cover because the ball definitely went. He's kind of skied it over cover, and it was caught by the cover fielder. And so Rishabh Pant would have been very disappointed by his dismissal because he was on 91. He could have got 100, which kind of in Australia he got that match-winning 89, but couldn't get the 100. I mean, and then again in that game it was just the 89 was such a brilliant 89, and I'm talking about the Sydney game as well. Actually, the Sydney game, 97 of 118, he really deserved the 100, and also in this game he deserved the 100 as well, but unfortunately he couldn't get it. And here's the thing: so when he got out, I wasn't really too thinking about the game situation because he's the reason why, him and Pujara is the reason why he even got to that point. But I really thought a big score for him would really be something. As I said, he's bore the brunt of a lot of two-faced fans. I mean, it's ironic to call them fans if they're two-faced, but if he doesn't play well for one game, they make fun of him. But then if he plays well for a game, they'll go along saying how good he is. And so him really getting this big innings and getting 100+ score, I really would have thought it would have done good for his confidence and, really continuing proving his doubters wrong. Even when he was trolled to the max, I would say, before, you've seen him play these brilliant innings that have won games for his side, and also just, they've been spectacular to watch, and he's such a, match winner. And so for me, I just wanted him to get a big score so he'd be, feel happy with himself really. And he'll feel happy with 91, but I guess it'd be overshadowed by the fact that it was a disappointing way to get out and he still could have got 100. So yeah, that was on him. And Washington Sundar and Ashwin came in, and, as we know, these two can bat. And so I honestly didn't expect Washington Sundar to score 85, but while Rishabh Pant was there, I thought that Washington Sundar hit a few good, he hit some shots through cover, and they were excellent shots. And so straight away he gave the indication that, we've seen him bat and play well, especially, domestically and against Australia where he scored that 62. And so we know he can bat, and he immediately gave off the indication that Rishabh Pant could rely on him. And I thought it was, something that was very important. And Ashwin also came in and, he blocked out for the first, I think on the closing stages of day 3, he was, more playing the blocking game. And then going into the next day, so Washington Sundar scored an unbeaten 85 and Ashwin scored 31 of 91. And this all looks pretty good that they got India to 337, but really if you're looking at from the position they were in, I thought very good recovery. But I'm saying that if you look at England 578, India were always going to be up against it. And so the bowling figures Anderson, as I talked about him sticking with lines and lengths, and he bowled brilliantly, 2 for 46 and 16.5. Archer was excellent to watch, 2 for 75 and 21. Jack Leach, I mean, I'm going to say 2 for 105 and 38, but really, I mean, there was one point where he gave 59 runs in 6 overs. So, he did have the opportunity to bowl to the kind of the lower order batsmen and so get his economy rate down after Rishabh Pant got out. But yeah, he had a bit of, he kind of bore the brunt of an onslaught, really. And Dom Bess, I mean, he got 4 for 76 and 26, but really, that Kohli wicket was, a very good plan, and, he deserved that. But I'm saying that it was a combination of the other batsmen's mistakes, and honestly, I mean, he didn't really. His economy rate was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 point something at one stage. I think after the first, when I think after the third day, it was actually 2 point something, 2.39. But the thing is, he'd never. You looked at that bowling and you thought, is that really the quality of bowling that you'd get for a 2.39? And it just wasn't. And this is what. Sorry, this is what I'm saying here. So, if you look at England's wickets, especially in the first 6 wickets, the Rohit Sharma wicket and Kohli wicket, there were two, very good deliveries. But I'm saying that the other 4 were kind of batsman's mistake or just luck. And that's where India would feel very frustrated that really they've had to bat in the harder conditions and they still got to 337. So really, they actually did. They had some good moments in that innings, but unfortunately, it is what it is. And so Ben Stokes only bowled 6 overs, none for 16. And so then England had to play. And straight away, I said the fact that the first 2 days was, roads of a pitch, and then the pitch is deteriorating. Well, the 178 all out definitely showed that. And, well on Ashwin, the first bowler, I think, in 100 years to take a wicket off the first ball of an innings being a spinner. And yeah, it was off Rory Burns again. And so, he went on to get 6 for 61. And despite the fact that he did go for a bit at the start, England were playing positively, especially Joe Root, I still think the 6 for 61, I mean, it's a reason why that they actually only scored 178. So excellent bowling from him. And Dom Sibley, 16 off 37. Dan Lawrence, 18 off 47. Joe Root, 40 off 32, but LBW off Bumrah. And Stokes is 7. And so then there was a kind of a few 20s, Ollie Pope 28, Josh Butler 24, Dom Bess 25. And Dom Bess, we've seen him, he's actually batted very well. And clearly, I mean, for me, his batting's actually better than his bowling, to be honest with you. I mean, this isn't in a way to kind of discredit him, but I really think that we've seen him bowl well in, parts, but he's going to have to really keep a better control because otherwise, I mean, he really doesn't provide this threat, I'm going to say. And so that's the thing on Dom Bess. And so this is the thing. So you look at this innings and the highest score was 40. And so they were trying to score positively. And I'm saying this because you look at the figures. Ishan Sharma 1 for 27 and 1 for 24 and 7 overs. Jasprit Bumrah 1 for 26 and 6. Shahbaz Nadeem 2 for 66 and 15. Washington Sundar only bowled the 1 over because they realized that, the ball was turning. And so you'd rather bowl with the spinners who turn the ball more. And Washington Sundar, he doesn't really turn the ball much. And so Ashwin even 6 of 61 and 17.3. His economy rate, and this is when he brought it back, was 3.49, and so he was also going, I think, 4 and over as well. And that's the thing. So India were getting wickets, but because there was assistance for the spinners because the pitch had deteriorated, but England were scoring runs at a faster pace, and that's why it was very important for India that Ashwin got his 6 for, because if England had batted for longer, then if they'd even batted for not too much longer, but if they'd been able to continue that fast scoring rate without losing wickets, this would have been very difficult. And so as I'm saying, it's very good from Ashwin. And as I said, the pitch deteriorated, and so England ended up scoring 400 runs less than what they scored in the first innings. And the target for India was 420, which is on a turning pitch, especially with how much it was turning. Deteriorating in this game, so it was going to be very difficult. So the best I could think of was a draw, and so India batted, and it wasn't a draw, it was a loss, and they got bought out for 192. And I understand there was this kind of thing, especially going into the 50, where it was a thing where can India have batsmen who can play aggressively, and so can they win? And I thought a draw is the maximum result that there will be, because this is the thing. So they chased down 328 in Australia, where it does, after weathering out the new ball, it does get easier to bat. And especially against the Australian attack, where they're better with the new ball than they are with the old ball. And so you look at 328 in those in a place where after you see through the new ball, you can get a fair share of runs despite playing against, as I said, the best bowling attack that they can face. And so you have a different scenario here. I mean, 328 on a pitch where, as I said, isn't doing much for the bowlers after the new ball. That's different from a pitch where you have to get 420 and it was getting close to turning square. And so I knew that it was going to be a draw at best for India, and as you can see, it really wasn't a draw, it was a loss. And 192 all out, 250, so Virat Kohli 72 of 104 and Shubman Gill 50 of 83. But apart from that, not really much to speak about. And if you're looking at this, I mean, England, I thought, they bowled excellently with Anderson. 3 for 17 and 11. And the over that really, India were 92 for 2. And you thought, could there be some hope with Virat Kohli and Shubman Gill batting? And then Anderson bowls that over where he got 2 wickets. And I thought that completely put the draw to bed. Despite the fact Virat Kohli was still there, I really thought it put the draw to bed, because she bowled Shubman Gill and Ajinkya Rahane with 2 brilliant in-swingers. And there's a thing that you'd think Chennai would be a place where you'd think he wouldn't get much assistance, and then he bowls those kind of balls that he bowled. So, as I said, he bowled very well in the first innings, and the second innings he shows his class and bowls those brilliant in-swingers. And the ball to Rahane actually... The ball before was an umpire's call, LBW, which for a ball that kept low. And this one, the very next ball, he bowls that. And again, brilliant. And that was that really. I thought that put the draw to bed. And then India kept on losing, because at one stage 117 for 6. And then, in the end 192. Virat Kohli after a while being the lone soldier really. And Anderson 3 for 17 and 11. Archer had to wait for his 1 wicket, but still bowled well. Stokes 1 for 13 and 4, but when that wicket's Virat Kohli, and it was a very good slow ball. Either it was a slow ball or it just slowed up in the pitch, but I reckon there was an intention to not bowl it that quickly. So honestly, I would, alright, Ben Stokes can have the wicket, and plus, really, 4 overs, 1 for 13. If you get that kind of a player out, then everything's good. And so Jack Leach bounced back brilliantly with 4 for 76 and 26. And especially with that ball he bowled to Pujara, he pitched on off stump and turned away, something you have to play out. It was an excellent delivery, and he got the wicket, and he bowled very well, I thought. And Dom Best, look, here's the thing. So you look at 4 for 76 in the first innings for Dom Best, and 4 for 76 in the second innings for Jack Leach. And you see this thing here. So Jack Leach is 4 for me, and for a lot of people was much better. And you look at, because I'm saying this because you look at Dom Best in the second inning, he just bowled 4 tosses, and he got 1 for 15. He bowled a good ball to Washington Sundar for caught behind, but especially Virat Kohli hit 3 boundaries off him in a row, bowling 4 tosses. Shubman Gill hit 6 of him, wicket off him, bowling a 4 toss. And with that many 4 tosses and an 8 over spell, it really wasn't great from him. And that's why I'm saying that, this isn't me really spreading hate about him, but I'm saying that he really has to improve his bowling, because, come on, you're playing in a 2-spinner attack where, you're in subcontinental conditions, and, the pitch is turning, as it's deteriorated, and you're expected to really keep it tight and bowl well, and instead he just bowl 4 tosses and give 50 runs away. It really isn't great, and so that's why he does have to improve on that. And India got all out for 192, and so England, this is the thing here. So of course, with the way the game went, the way the game went, England deserved to win the game completely. But I'm saying this, I thought that this game was very toss orientated. It was very dictated by the toss. You look at this, look how the game went. you look at England scoring 578 against an Indian attack that bowled very well, considering that they were bowling on a road. And so just imagine on an England attack that would be less effective on, those same circumstances, especially in Indian conditions. Imagine how many runs India would have scored with the arguably stronger batting lineup. And so this isn't in some way to say England, were lucky in any way, because they still had to score 578, and it took the contributions that I mentioned to get them to this winning position and making them win the game. But I'm saying that this is two toss dictated, and Virat Kohli, as we've seen, he hardly wins tosses. And so it isn't really, I really hope that the future games aren't like, I don't mind if it's turning square, honestly, but I'm saying that if it's turning square from the start, it's okay. A kind of a roadmap like this, where it's flat for the first 2 days, which it plays into the team's batting first hands to post such a big score, and for the team that's batting second, it's very difficult. And that's why I'm saying I hope that it's either flat from the start, or like flat throughout, or turning squares throughout, because honestly it just isn't very fair. And I would say this, even if England had lost the game and people were criticizing them, I would still say the same. It isn't very fair, because the toss dictated this encounter way too much. And yeah, that's on India, and that's on this game. And so coming to India, so there has been a thing on people saying, should they drop Rahane? And this is my take on that. You look at India's 3, 4, and 5. That's, as I said, the best 3, 4, 5 in the world in Test cricket. And so you look at them as a package. And I feel that this team, you've seen them in Australia as well. A big part of this team, has been responding to adversity. Even if they've sometimes lost the game while doing that, they have shown, especially in overseas tours, a better fight than all the other teams that there are in the world. And so it's that you look at Pujara, Kohli, and Rahane, and I feel that it's a very harmonious combination that should not be tinkered with. And here's Pujara kind of, it plays the attritional game and wearing the bowlers down. Virat Kohli is a bit more flashy and just, looks to score runs. And Rahane, I feel, is this player who does soak up the pressure, but in a way that, look, it's like this. So, and he actually does like, if you look at him in limited overs and stuff, he does like to score. But in tests, especially, he actually, despite the fact that he may not be that consistent, he does play some very good innings. And so when the team does need him to. And so you look at the 112 against Australia in making India win the test moment, which is a pivotal moment in the series. And he still got a few starts in the other games as well. And also you look at in England when he scored 81 in the game that India won. And also in the fourth test when he scored this 50, where if India had won that game, it would have been 2-2. And so India were dominating for a lot of that game. And so that's why I'm saying that you look at the moments where the team really needs him to perform. He can take the pressure and he can perform. And so you've seen him play some very good innings. And so especially also for a player who's, as far as his career may seem to be plateauing, he averages 42, which is very good, which is more than a lot of other players in the world. And so looking at other players, in the squad, it definitely may seem that, especially look at someone like a Mayank Agarwal, who batted at a similar position, either 5 or 6 in Australia. He looked to be more positive. And I understand that seeing him bat and seeing Rahane bat, it's kind of like you'd kind of look at Mayank Agarwal, the way he went about things, especially in Australia, despite the fact he didn't really get, the big scores, especially I think in this 38 he scored once, he looked to be positive. And so seeing him and comparing the two ways that they go about things, I understand why people would want to get batsmen, other batsmen in that number 5 slot, but I feel that it would disrupt this harmonious balance. And so there's the thing. So if India get into a situation where they lose wickets early, Pujara and Kohli, but the number 5, if Mayank Agarwal comes in at number 5, or whoever comes in at number 5, would you have the same that ability to respond to adversity, or maybe even the outcome? Would they be able to respond to adversity as well as a Rahane and play that crucial innings, even not a big, if not a big innings, when the team needs it? I mean, there'd be for me a decreased probability of that happening, and so I feel that with Rahane, that's the thing, that's the edge that he has over the other players. And Virat Kohli even said Pujara along with Rahane are the two most important batsmen, and obviously we're all going to say along with him as well. And so it's like Rahane being in this team, there's a reason why he is in this team, and as I said, he stands up in pressure situations despite not being the most consistent player. And anyone else, if you put them into that same position, they may not be able to respond to that adversity as well as him. And even the batsmen in front, Virat Kohli and Cheteshwar Pujara, looking back, they would be much more confident having a Rahane at 5 than someone else, because this is the same thing they'd probably be thinking about, that responding to adversity, would the other players be able to do it as well as Rahane does? And yeah, that's on that. And so that's the thing, really. So coming to the second test, I feel like India do have to win the second test, because you wouldn't discount England winning a day-night test wherever it may be, because you see how well Anderson bowled in the 20 when the last time they went to Australia in the Ashes. Yes, they lost 4-0, but they actually drew that test, I think. So yeah, I think they drew that test. I'm not so sure. Actually, no, I don't think they did. So that's the thing. So Anderson bowled brilliantly, especially you saw under lights. I mean, it was something to watch. And so you wouldn't discount him and Broad if they do play together for that. Maybe they would. And so you wouldn't discount them doing the same thing. And so that's the reason why, especially India, who do struggle playing against swing, understandably, really, because they go to New Zealand once in a while, and they only have England tours once every 4 years. So you can understand that. But I'm saying that it's like, of course, they may struggle. And so you wouldn't really discount England actually winning that third test. And so that's the reason why I feel like India have to win the next test, because otherwise it'd be very difficult, to win the next two, really. Well, I mean, they could win the last one, but I'm saying that the third test would be where the series kind of lies. And so as far as, India retaining the trophy, or England even getting the momentum from the third test and going on to win the fourth one. And so that's why I'm saying India have to win the second test. And yeah, that's that, really. And I think that India, in order to qualify for the World Test Championship finals, they have to get 2 wins and a draw. So they can't lose, another test in this series. Otherwise, the World Test Championship final, probably the hopes would be gone. But for me, as I said, don't really care about the World Test Championship final, because really, if they do get there, and if they do win it, and even if they don't win it, it will be like, despite all these rule changes that have happened for a team that has played such good cricket, and with the whole percentage rules, percentage of wins and everything, and yet despite all these rule changes, they've got to the final. And I think it would be an incredible achievement. And India, for me, they'll be looking to win this series. I mean, that's the thing here. I feel that beating Australia and beating England, I mean, you feel the satisfaction to say that you are an excellent team, and India are an excellent team. And so that's why I'm saying, if they don't get to the World Test Championship final, as I said, I mean, you saw my opinion on this in the last video I made on this series. I mean, who cares? And so that's the thing about this game. And India probably have to win the next game to, I would say, really feel confident going forward for the other 2 games in the Test series. And England, I don't really think there'll be any changes coming in the side. But let's see how things go from here. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?